Oh, look at that. Where did you come from? Did you go under there?
Yeah, I went through there. Choose your own adventure.
Yeah, that might be safer actually than coming across this wet ledge.
Yeah. Is that not a good way to go?
Yeah, Chop Chop chose a better way.
I'm Matt Podolsky, trail name Birdman, and in 2022, I thru-hiked the entire Appalachian Trail. I was a full 5 months into the hike and had just crossed the last state border of the trip. I had reached the state of Maine. Just past the border, me and my trail family, were greeted by one of the most interesting sections of the entire Appalachian Trail, Mahoosic Notch.
We're just going to be scrambling up and over and around some giant boulders, I think.
Mahoosic Notch is considered by many to be the most challenging mile of the entire Appalachian Trail. It's a deep gorge filled with a jumble of rocks and boulders the size of small houses. It's not so much a trail as it is a maze, and as you descend into the cracks and crevices between boulders, the air suddenly starts to change.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh. Oh, that temperature difference is crazy. It happened so quickly, it's just like a layer of cold air down here.
It's meant to be. Like, all right,
Yeah.
we're going to be doing some hard work here, so we're going to give you
It's got to be like coming from deep within these like crevices in the boulders, you know? This is like a puzzle.
Yeah.
Making it through New Hampshire's White Mountains felt like a significant achievement. But the trail doesn't get any easier as it enters the state of Maine. If anything, the terrain becomes more difficult. Me and my family were about to learn an important lesson from the AT. Never underestimate the trail.
It's harder to do these big days, lots of miles. One, because the terrain is more challenging than it was further south, but also because the days are much shorter. So, last night, a little bit of night hiking.
In addition to the challenging terrain, this section of the trail is by far the most remote. Maine is home to the 100-mile wilderness, the longest stretch of the Appalachian Trail without a town where hikers can resupply. But despite the remoteness of this area, the vast majority of the land is privately owned. The Appalachian Mountain Club is working to establish protection for the 100-mile wilderness, but not everyone is happy with their approach.
You know, we are the land, and the land is sort of the very driving force of our resistance to colonialism throughout history and into the present day.
This is a show about more than just the Appalachian Trail. It's about the intersection of Western environmental beliefs and Indigenous land rights. This is Common Land.
So I'm looking out on Long Pond, and there's a group of 4 loons just right, not that far off from this beach. I did talk to my mom before leaving to start the hike this morning.
My mom had hiked more than 1,500 miles of the Appalachian Trail with me, but injuries had forced her to get off trail.
It sounds like she is not planning on rejoining me. She'd been thinking about rejoining me when I reach Caratonk at the crossing of the Kennebec River, but her knee is still bothering her, and she's just anxious about walking into the 100-mile wilderness without feeling totally confident that her knee is at 100%. All right, well, I'm walking across this homemade wooden bridge. This bridge and trail leads up to what's called Harrison's Camp. Oh, there's a nice view of it. Let's stop and take a picture. It's this beautiful old log cabin built in the 1930s. This older gentleman says that he's run it for the last 30 plus years, and he serves huge stacks of pancakes to hikers. Smells amazing in here.
What's that?
It smells amazing in here.
Oh, well, I hope it will be tasting amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
That is a man ready for pancakes.
Starving to death.
Starving to death.
That is a lot of pancakes.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Give one, guys. 1, 2, 3, pancakes! Thank you.
Yeah. I'm uncomfortably full. So I ate it all, and now
Good. But I think like
Struggle Street.
In hindsight, I should have just gone with the pancakes. I didn't need the eggs and sausage.
By this point, I'd been hiking with KFC, Chop Chop, Koozie, and Bear Snack for several weeks, but it felt like a lot longer. The intensity of the experience elevated our camaraderie and made us feel truly like family.
what's up, Birdman?
How's it going, Chop
How
Chop?
you doing?
You happy today?
Yeah,
Yeah.
got my breakfast.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 breakfasts actually.
Do you think we're gonna have a view up here at some point? Next 2.5 miles?
You know,
I know you asked me the same question, and I was optimistic, but I'm less optimistic now that we're up here.
but you gotta put mileage in on these days sometimes.
Yep.
And I wasn't the only one recording an audio diary of the trip.
All right, we're all here. There's everybody. Bear Snack, Birdman, KFC, Chop Chop.
Hi, Koozie.
What's this pond?
Surplus pond.
Surplus Pond. So we're at the Surplus Pond Road, and there was a campsite just down the road here, but there was already people. So we had to come up the road a little bit, and we found a place to put all our tents. So we're gonna eat dinner and just converse for a little bit before hitting the hay early.
Pretty soon here, I'm going to come across the AT completion marker, which is a plaque that dedicates the last section of the trail that was completed back in the 30s. Oh, and look, here it is. It says, Maine CCC, in honor of the men of the Civilian Conservation Corps who, from 1935 to 1939, contributed greatly to the completion of the Appalachian Trail in Maine, and who, on August 14th, 1937, near this spot, completed the final link of the entire 2,054-mile trail.
When you're out on the landscape, history seems to start with these, white men who raised money to put this land into trust and donated it to settler states.
That's Nolan Altvader, a citizen of the Passamaquoddy tribe who works for the Passamaquoddy's Tribal Preservation Office.
That's like exactly the case here in what is now Maine and throughout New England. Sections of what is now the Appalachian Trail in Maine, overlapping kind of indigenous trail systems, like absolutely, and you actually can see that in some of the place names that stick around in the area. Lungsus Camp, the Wassatacook River, Penobscot River, obviously. These are all Indigenous place names. But the issue is that we've been forcibly dispossessed of that land for so long. Wabanaki people here in what is now Maine own less than 1% of Maine.
When Nolan, who is a citizen of the Passamaquoddy tribe, mentions Wabanaki people, he's referring to the Wabanaki Confederacy, an alliance of 5 indigenous nations whose homelands encompass much of what is now northern New England and southeastern Canada.
It's the Wabanaki Confederacy that consists of the Passamaquoddy tribe down at Zibayig, Madakmiguk, and Quaneskumkug. Then we have the Penobscot Nation, located near what is now Old Town, Maine, the Aroostook Nation of Mi'kmaq, and then we have the Wolastoq and the Holton Band of Maliseets, and then we have our Abenaki relatives, and they were originally located in what is now southern Maine and down into Vermont and New Hampshire. However, they were forcibly removed from their homelands and now have reservations in Odanak and Wolanak in what is now Canada. So together we are the Wabanaki Confederacy. Yet again, each has their own governance structures and their own distinct relationships with the state of Maine and the federal government as well.
The Wabanaki Confederacy existed long before first contact with Europeans, but the alliance was formalized in the late 1600s in response to colonial expansion from New England. The Confederacy fought against British colonial forces in a number of conflicts during this period and were forcibly disbanded in 1862. But in 1993, the Wabanaki Confederacy was revived, and the Wabanaki people have experienced a cultural resurgence over the past several decades. One component of this cultural resurgence is the Wabanaki Youth in Science program, which integrates traditional knowledge with science and technology.
They have an ancestral trail crew. So it's a group of Wabanaki individuals who work with these, so-called conservation organizations such as the National Park Service in Acadia and into Katahdin Woods and Waters here. And, they're out there reconnecting with their homelands and being the people to care for it.
Modern traditions deeply rooted in ancestral ideas and beliefs. There are numerous examples of this across Wabanaki culture.
Yeah, back in 1981, a tribal member, Barry Dana, decided to do this ceremonial journey from the Indian Island, Penobscot Nation Reservation to Katahdin. And that just happened to be a journey of 100 miles. So they ended up, it's now an annual thing that they call the K100.
For the Penobscot people, this 100-mile trek is a spiritual journey rooted in cultural traditions that go back thousands of years. Katahdin has been their spiritual beacon for innumerable generations. I certainly don't share that deep-rooted spiritual connection to the greatest mountain, but when I stood at the entry point of the 100-mile wilderness, with just about 100 miles between me and Katahdin, I could feel the mountain's looming presence. After a short break, my tramily and I will enter the most remote section of the AT. The 100-mile wilderness. Hey there, adventurers. Are you ready to hit the trail this season? If so, check out Big Agnes, the mother of comfort. Whether you're backpacking, car camping, or sleeping under the stars in your backyard, Big Agnes gear is built for comfort without compromise. Their award-winning sleeping bags, pads, and tents are lightweight, durable, and feel like home, no matter where you roam. Say goodbye to cold, stiff nights, and hello to plush, cozy sleep in the wild or your backyard. Find Big Agnes at an outdoor retailer near you or at bigagnes.com and feel the difference. Big Agnes, comfort built for the backcountry. We're back. I'm Matt Podolsky, and this is Common Land, a show about the Appalachian Trail. Before the break, my tramily and I were about to enter Maine's 100-mile wilderness. But first, we got a send-off from a former thru-hiker.
I wrote a haiku on my thru hike back in 2008 at the shelter log in Lehman Brook in here, and I thought I'd share with you guys. Drink your deepest now, for the richest stuff settles in the final swig. I wrote it because it wasn't purifying my water at the time, but I realized there's a metaphor going on here. When you get to the top of Whitecap, you're going to see Mount Katahdin clearly for the first time. And they say that the view from the top of Whitecap is the axe that breaks up the frozen seas within us. So be prepared to be emotionally stirred.
That's Jared Hester, trail name Poet. After his thru-hike, Poet and his wife bought Shaw's Hiker Hostel in Monson, Maine, the last town the trail passes through before entering the 100-mile wilderness.
I knew how much I wanted to be done when I got to this parking lot right here, but when I got to that mountain and saw my destination for the first time, it was much closer than I wanted it to be. So savor this. You never know when you're going to be able to do something like this again. I know it's hard for you to see yourselves right now because you're in the hike, but if you can see yourselves from where I stand, you know how awesome you guys are. You're absolutely killing it right now. Yeah, you all keep up the good work. And take care, guys. Yeah, and in about 100 yards, you're going to see that sign that says you're now entering the 100-mile wilderness. Sign away all your worldly possessions. Prepare to meet your imminent doom. Just give me a call if you need anything, all right? All right, guys, take care.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Reaching this milestone was absolutely surreal. For months, I had told everyone I met that I was walking to Maine. Now, I was here at the start of the famous 100-mile wilderness. Everyone in my tramily was giddy with excitement.
Who has the heaviest bag?
I think Neil.
For a Z-Pack.
I mean, that's heavy. That's
heavy.
Yeah, I don't know.
We were all carrying enough food to last for 100 miles, 6 days in the woods. Our packs were heavier than they had ever been.
Chop chops might be heavier.
Chop them in my hour.
Yeah. Oh, here it is. Do not attempt this section unless you have a minimum of 10 days supplies and are fully equipped. This is the longest wilderness section of the entire AT, and its difficulty should not be underestimated. Good hiking.
Everyone got their picture?
No, not me.
Ferdman,
Someone.
no, Ferdman.
One of the ironies of the 100-mile wilderness is that despite how rugged and remote it isn't public land. For years, it was owned largely by logging companies. Now, these woods are being bought up by the AMC, the Appalachian Mountain Club.
We literally have a portion of our state, about 10.4 million acres, called literally the unorganized territories.
That's Steve Tatko, the Vice President of Land, Research, and Trails for the Appalachian Mountain Club, and a lifelong resident of central Maine.
And it's governed like one large municipality, essentially. Most of us on the eastern seaboard and most of Europe live in what's known as the temperate deciduous forest biome. And this biome extends into China and Manchuria and into Korea and Japan, a little bit of it in the southern hemisphere and places. The state of Maine is the single largest politically defined geographic region, home to the single largest patch of that biome, that intact biome, left anywhere in the world. It's virtually gone everywhere else.
In 2003, the Appalachian Mountain Club started buying land from logging companies in the 100-mile wilderness region of Maine. They called this newly formed and ever-growing patch of protected land the Maine Woods Initiative.
You know, who owns the land matters, and what their long-term relationship to those places are is critical. Why we designed the project in Maine the way we did was our experience in the whites. You know, I mean, pushing for the creation of the legislation to go out and literally buy the landscape that is now the White Mountain National Forest, that was our first biggest policy win. I mean, that took 50 years. Could we be influential in doing that again?
The AMC's first big campaign as an organization was advocating for the passage of the Weeks Act. This bill, which passed into law in 1911, gave the federal government permission to buy private land and convert it to protected, publicly owned parcels. This set the stage for the establishment of public national forest land in the eastern U.S. But this time, instead of advocating for public protection, the Appalachian Mountain Club would own the land outright.
It just wasn't politically viable to push for more federal land in the Northeast in that same way that we were able to 100 years before. We needed to step up and be the landowners ourselves. And so we built this model to enable us to do that. You know, when I joined, we had about 64,000 acres. We currently are at 114,000 acres, and in the next few years, we hope to expand to 130,000 acres with another acquisition.
Responsible forestry is one of the cornerstones of the Maine Woods Initiative. So even though logging companies no longer own the land, logging still takes place.
Walking right by a construction site or something, or a logging operation, some heavy machinery is being operated within earshot. And sounds like it definitely could be a logging operation, or it could just be road maintenance or road building. If that's what it is, road maintenance, I mean, almost certainly it's maintenance being done on a logging road to facilitate logging.
While I don't love hearing road construction noise while hiking through a beautiful forest, I do recognize the importance of finding sustainable ways to harvest timber. The AMC is working hard to find a balance between maintaining a viable local logging industry and conserving these forests for future generations.
We are stewarding, we, the collective landowner community, public and private, are stewarding what is arguably a priceless global ecological treasure. And yet, if you look at the people who are living alongside this irreplaceable forest, they are the poorest, by far. We as conservationists, and especially as landowners, have this duty, I would say, this moral obligation that we are raising money to conserve these landscapes. We need to ensure that we spend as much time to also activate these landscapes for the benefit of people. And I feel that starts by honoring their relationships to these places, giving them control of places, and particularly in regard to the Wabanaki communities, returning land where we can.
Although the Appalachian Mountain Club is vocal about its desire to work with Indigenous communities and give land back to Indigenous nations, it was a different conservation nonprofit that recently announced a large land transfer in Maine. The Trust for Public Land announced at the end of 2023 that it would be giving over 30,000 acres back to the Penobscot Nation, the largest ever land return between a U.S. nonprofit and an Indigenous nation.
Day 3 in the 100-mile wilderness. It's a rough one. When it's raining like this and you're cold and wet, you just put your head down and you just walk. Did 7.5 miles basically without stopping. Well, I'm up on top of White Cap Mountain. The rain has stopped, but I am in some dense fog up here.
The view of Katahdin from White Cap's summit is famous, but there are no guarantees on the trail, and I had zero visibility when I reached the peak. But I got another chance about halfway down the mountain.
You said it said that this viewpoint specifically had a good Katahdin view?
Yeah,
Well,
I haven't marked the, coming down to the shelter.
Yeah.
That's KFC, one of the members of my tramily.
Damn, well, that's it's not a bad surprise at the end of the day.
Yeah.
After a wet, cold, damp day of hiking.
Yeah, figured it would be a total whiteout and this would be a bust,
I
but
know.
there she is.
Yeah.
Across all Wabanaki cultures, within our oral histories and our creation stories, Katahdin is a part of that.
Again, that's the voice of Nolan Altivator.
I've been told it's kind of like a resting place for what we refer to as either Kachinawesk, which means the Great Spirit, or a resting place for Galuskub, who was sort of like our first teacher, a figure in our story who taught us our original instructions as Skijinawug, as above surface dwellers, as Wabanaki peoples. In English, Mount Katahdin is actually redundant because Katahdin in Passamaquoddy translates to like the greatest mountain or the big mountain. So like when you call it Mount Katahdin, you're calling it Mount Greatest Mountain.
Well, here I am in my tent. It's September 20th, a little bit before 7 a.m. And the rain is coming down. I actually have cell service here at this campsite. It's Antlers Campground in the 100 Mile Wilderness, and so I was able to check the weather. The weather report says it's going to rain almost all day. So I'm just here in my tent. Really, really, really not wanting to get out. It's September 21st. I'm walking down a short side trail off the AT to see if there's a view of Katahdin. Nope.
Unbelievable.
Nothing.
Absolute bupkis.
Again, that's KFC. Although we were disappointed to miss another well-known Katahdin view, KFC and I were the only members of our tramily that had seen the mountain at all, despite how close we were. At least we got that partial view. Nobody else did.
Yeah.
Later that same day, my trail family and I emerged from the 100 Mile Wilderness. We had gained a new member during our 6 days hiking through the most remote section of the Appalachian Trail, so our crew was back up to 6 people. Me, KFC, Chop Chop, Koozie, Bear Snack, and Sauce. It had been 6 months since we started hiking in Georgia, and only 15 miles of trail remained. Common Land is a production of the Wildlands Collective. This season was produced in partnership with New Hampshire Public Radio. This episode was produced by me, your host, Matt Podolsky. Music is by Blue Dot Sessions. To listen to the next episode in the series, just search for Common Land in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about the show and to see a full list of credits, go to commonlandpodcast.com.